I'm a total Sonic the Hedgehog fan, much like everyone else. I like the newer games, but I don't mind playing the classics. I don't think I've ever played glitchy or hacked games before, though I don't think I want to play any after the experience I had. It started on a nice summer afternoon. I was playing Sonic Unleashed, until I noticed, out of my peripheral vision, that the mailman had arrived and put something in my mailbox, as usual, and left. I paused my game to go see what I got in the mail. The only thing in the mailbox was a CD case for computers and a note. I took it inside. I looked at the note first and realized it was from my dear friend Kyle. Let's just call him that, whom I hadn't heard from in 2 weeks. I know that because I recognized his handwriting. Though what was weird is how it looked. It looked badly written and scratchy, and somewhat difficult to read, as if Kyle was having a hard time writing it down and did it in a hurry. This is what he wrote. Tom, I can't take it anymore. I had to get rid of this thing somehow before it was too late, and I was hoping you'd do it for me. I can't do it. He'll come after me. And if you don't destroy this CD, he'll come after you too. He's too fast for me. Please, Tom, destroy this godforsaken disc before he comes after you too. It's too late for me. Destroy the disc and you'll destroy him. But do it quick, otherwise he'll catch you. Don't even play the game. It's what he wants. Just destroy it. Please. Kyle. Well, that was certainly weird. Even though Kyle is my best friend and I haven't seen him in 2 weeks, I didn't do what he asked me to do. I didn't think that a simple gaming disc would do anything bad to him. After all, it's just a game, right? Boy, was I wrong about that. Anyway, I looked at the disc, and it looks like any other ordinary computer CDR disc, except it had a black marker on it, written Sonic.EXE. And it was much unlike Kyle's handwriting, meaning that he must have gotten it from someone else, like a pawn shop or eBay. When I saw Sonic on the CD, I was excited and wanted to play it, since I'm a big Sonic fan. I went up to my room and turned on my computer and put the disc in and installed the game. When the title screen popped up, I noticed that it was the first Sonic game. I was like, awesome. Because, like I said earlier, I like the classics. The first thing I noticed that was out of place when I pressed start, there's a split second when I saw the title image turned into something much different, something that I now consider horrifying before cutting to black. I remember what the image looked like in that split second before the game cut to black. The sky had darkened, the title emblem was rusted and ruined, the Sega 1991 logo was now instead Sega 666, and the water had turned red like blood, except it looked hyper-realistic. But the freakiest thing was that in that split-second frame was Sonic. His eyes were pitch black and bleeding, with two glowing red dots staring right at me, and his smile had stretched wider up to the edge of his face. I was rather disturbed about that image when I saw it, though I figured that it was just a glitch and forgot about it. After it cut to black, it stayed like that for 10 seconds or so. And then another weird thing happened. The save file select from Sonic 3 popped up, and I was like, WTF, what's this doing in the first Sonic game? Anyway, then I noticed something off. Guys, this writing is just astounding, let me tell you. The background was the dark cloudy sky of the bad Stardust Speedway level from Sonic CD. There were only 3 save files. The music was that creepy Caverns of Winter music from Earthbound, only it extended, and it seemed to have been in reverse, and the image for the save file, where you see a preview of the level you're on, is just a red static for all 3. What freaked me out more was the character select. It only showed Tails, Knuckles, and to my surprise, Dr. Robotnik. Now I was sure something was up. I mean, how can you play as Robotnik in a Sonic game, for crying out loud? That's when I realized this wasn't a glitchy game, it was a hacked game. Really? Yeah, it definitely looked hacked. It was really creepy. But as a smart gamer, I wasn't scared. Oh, this guy's a smart gamer, guys. Just lock in, he's got this. He'll defeat the demons. I wasn't scared, or at least I tried not to be. I told myself that it was just a hacked game, and there's nothing wrong with that. Anyway, shaking off the creeped out feeling, I picked File 1 and chose Tails when I selected and got started. The game froze for about 5 seconds, and I heard a creepy pixelated laugh that sounded an awful lot like the Kefka guy from Final Fantasy before cutting to black. The screen stayed black for about 10 seconds or more. Well, which is it, buddy? You're the one writing the story. Then it showed the typical level title thing, except the simplistic shapes were different shades of red, and the text only showed Hill Act 1. Oh man, the hill isn't green anymore, guys. The hills aren't silent. The residents aren't evil. Screen faded in, and the level title vanished, revealing Tails in Green Hill Zone from Sonic 1. The music was different, though. It sounded like a peaceful melody in reverse. Anyway, I started playing, and anyway is this guy's favorite word, and had Tails start running like you would in any of the classic Sonic games. What was odd was that Tails was running along the level. There was nothing but flat ground and a few trees for 5 minutes. That was when the peaceful music started to lower into a slow, deep tones, very slowly as I kept going. Oh, good heavens, this is quite the long story. Anyway, where were we? Okay, here we are. I suddenly saw something and stopped to see what it was. It was one of the small animals lying dead on the ground bleeding. That was when the music started to slow down. Tails had a shocked and saddened look on his face that I'd never seen before, so I had him move along, and he kept that worried look on his face. As he kept moving, I saw more dead animals. As Tails moved past him, looking more and more worried as the music lowers and he moves past more dead animals. I was shocked to see how they all died. They looked like somebody killed them in rather gruesome ways. A squirrel was hanged on a tree from what appeared to be his entrails hanging out. A bunny had all 4 of his limbs torn off, and a duck had his eyes gouged out and his throat slit. I felt sick to my stomach when I saw the massacre, and apparently so did Tails. After a few more seconds, there were no more animals, and the music seemed to have stopped. I still kept Tails to continue. After a minute passed, the music stopped. Tails was running up a hill, and then he stopped. It wasn't until I saw why. Sonic that was there on the other side of the screen with his back against Tails, with his eyes closed. Tails looked happy to see Sonic, but then his smile faltered, obviously noticing that Sonic wasn't responding, if not acting as if he was totally oblivious of Tails' presence. Tails walked slowly towards Sonic, and I noticed that I wasn't even moving my keyboard to make him move, so this had to be a cutscene. Suddenly I began to have a growing feeling of dread as Tails walked closer to Sonic to get his attention. I felt that Tails was in danger and something bad was going to happen. I heard faint static growing louder as Tails was but inches away from Sonic and stopped and stuck out his hand to touch him. That foreboding feeling in my gut was growing stronger, and I felt the urge to tell Tails to get away from Sonic as the static grew louder. Suddenly, in a split second, I saw Sonic's eyes open, and they were black with those red glowing dots, just like the title image, though there wasn't a smile. When that happened, the screen turned black and the static was off. It stayed black for about 7 seconds, and then white text appeared, forming a message saying, "Hello, do you want to play with me?" At this point I was creeped out. I didn't want to continue with the game, but my curiosity got the better of me when I saw that I was taken to a different level, with the level title now saying Hide and Seek. This time I was in Angel Island from Sonic 3. And it looked like everything was on fire. Tails looked as though he was scared out of his wits this time. He actually looked at me and made frantic gestures to me, as if he wanted to get out of the area as fast as possible. Wow, this man turned into Bubsy, it's so scary. I was starting to get freaked out by this. I mean, Tails was actually breaking the 4th wall, trying to tell me to get him out of there. So I pressed down on the arrow key as hard as I could, and made him run as fast as he could. A pixelated version of that creepy theme when you meet Shadow at the Ark as Robotnik from Sonic Adventure 2 was playing, as I made Tails trek through the desolate forest, trying to help him escape from whatever he was trying to run from. Suddenly I heard that creepy laugh again, right after 10 seconds have passed as I helped Tails run through the forest, and then I started seeing flashes of Sonic popping up everywhere on the screen, again with those red and black eyes. The music changed to that suspenseful drowning jingle as I see Sonic behind Tails slowly gaining on him, flying. Sonic wasn't running, he was flying. Man, they really wanted to drive that home. The flying pose his sprite was making looked just similar to Metal Sonic's flying pose in Sonic CD, except that it was just Sonic and he had the black and red eyes again. Good God, we get it, he had black and red eyes! This time he had the most deranged looking grin on his face. He looked as though he was enjoying the torment he was giving the poor little fox as he gained up on him. Suddenly, when Tails tripped, the music stopped and Sonic vanished. Tails laid there and started crying for 15 seconds. The scene was rather upsetting to watch, and I kind of teared up myself. But then Sonic appeared right in front of Tails, and Tails looked up in horror. Blood started to come down There's blackened eyes of Sonic's as a grin slowly grew from his face as he looked down at the horrified fox. I could do nothing but watch. Just as God, I can't read. Just in a split second, Sonic lunged at Tails right before the screen went black. There was a loud screech. The text returned, only this time said, "You're too slow, want to try again?" And then that laugh again. I was so shocked by what had happened. Did Sonic murder Tails? He and Tails are supposed to be best friends. Why would Sonic do this to him? Guys, why would he do that? Is he widowy stupid? I shook the shock off as I was brought back to the character select. The save file that had Tails was different. Tails was no longer in the box, but in the TV screen himself, which was flickering. With that red static, Tails' expression scared me. His eyes were black and bleeding. His orange fur had gone black, and he had an expression of anguish on his face. Trying to ignore it, I picked Knuckles next. The game came again, and the screen cut to black again, and stayed there for another 10 seconds. This time the level said, "You can't run." I was really freaked out by now. I couldn't really tell if this was a glitch or a hack, or some kind of sick twisted joke, or anything really. But despite my fear of what happened next, I kept playing. The next level looked much different. It had the ground of Scrap Brain Zone, but the sky background looked like it was the main menu. It had the dark, reddish, cloudy sky, but it was the music that creeped me out the most. It sounded like Gygas's theme right after you beat Pokey in Earthbound. I also noticed that Knuckles looked afraid just like Tails did, though not as much. More rather, he looked a little unnerved. He broke the fourth wall just as Tails and looked as if he wasn't sure about what was going on, but I made him move anyway. He ran down the straight pathway in this dark level, and as he did, the screen started to flicker, red static a couple times, and then that maddening laugh came again. Then after a few seconds of running, I noticed the several bloodstains on the metallic ground. I felt a growing sense of fear again, thinking something horrible was going to happen to Knuckles. He looked nauseated, walking down this blood-stained road, but I kept him going. Suddenly, as Knuckles ran, Sonic appeared right in front of him with those black and red eyes, and then red static appeared again. When the static vanished, the game showed nothing but a black screen with text saying, "Found you." I was scared. Sonic found Knuckles already? What was going on? Anyway, red static came again, and then I was back to the level. Knuckles looked like he was panicking, and Sonic was nowhere to be found. This time, that high-pitched squealing from Silent Hill 1's final boss was playing. Wow, they just expect me to get these references, huh? Okay, are we recording again? Was this some kind of boss battle with Sonic? I hope to God it wasn't, honestly. Suddenly, Sonic appeared right behind Knuckles in what appeared to be a pixelated black smoke. I made Knuckles turn and then punch Sonic, but Sonic vanished in black pixelated smoke before I could even land a hit. That terrible laugh went off again. Then Sonic appeared right behind Knuckles, and then I made him punch again, and Sonic vanished again, laughing. Knuckles was panicking even more, and I felt like I was going crazy. So am I, buddy. Sonic was practically playing with us. He was playing a sick, twisted mind game with Knuckles and me. Another cutscene played as Knuckles fell to the ground, clutching his head, sobbing. I felt his agony. Sonic was driving us both crazy. Then in a split second, Sonic lunged at Knuckles and the screen went black with another distorted screeching noise. Another text message appeared. "So many souls to play with, so little time. Would you agree?" What the hell? Just what is going on? I started to think Sonic was actually trying to talk to me through this game, but I was too scared to think that. I was brought back to the main menu this time. The second box had Knuckles in the TV screen. His red fur was reddish-gray. His dreadlocks were dripping with blood, and his eyes were black and bleeding too, and he had a look of sadness on his face. I began to think that those were the actual characters trapped in the TV screens. I didn't want to believe it. So I shut the game off and took a break. I took a nap, which I hadn't, because then I began to have the most disturbing nightmare. I was in a pitch-black darkness, though I was under the light given off by a lamp that hung high above my head. I could hear the cries of Knuckles and Tails nearby. They were saying stuff like, "Help us," and "Why did you give us to him?" and "Run away before he gets you too." Their cries died out as I heard Sonic laugh. His laugh. It sounded a lot like the distorted Kafka laugh. You're fun to play with, just like your friend Kyle, though he didn't last long. I was scared and looking around for the source of the voice. Won't be long until you join him and my other friends. I saw him walking towards me, flickering in and out in several directions. "You can't run, kid. You're in my world now, just like the others." When he grabbed me, I saw his bleeding black and red eyes. Grinning face, I woke up in a fright. After a couple of hours, I decided to continue playing the game. I don't know why, but I had to know. I had to figure out why this was happening, so I turned on the computer, turned on the game, and selected Robotnik next. I still thought that it was wacky playing as Robotnik. This time the level was just called ... which was freaky. This time I was in some kind of hallway. Didn't really look like it was from any of the classic Sonic games, though it had a pixelated style. The floor was shiny and checkered. The walls were a dark grayish purple with animated candlelight and a few dark bloodstains here and there. And there was a dark red curtain hanging above on the top part of the screen. Every 12 seconds or so that the red curtain swayed very slowly, but whenever you're playing the game, you can barely see it move. The music was oddly pleasant, piano, rather sad yet peaceful song. This song that played in Hill 1, only it wasn't in reverse. Robotnik didn't look entirely nervous like Tails and Knuckles did, but he did have a suspicious look on his face, as if he was a bit paranoid. He did a little animation when I just left him standing. He turns his head to the left and right a few times and then shrugs at me. He has no idea where he is or what was going on, even though I was scared out of my mind about what was going to happen. I had Robotnik continue forward. He did his usual running animation as we continued going through the hallway. Then I stopped at a long flight of stairs, leading downward. Now I was nervous. Even Robotnik seemed unsure of himself, though I pressed onward. As I led Robotnik down the stairs, I noticed that the walls have gotten darker and more reddish. The red torches are now an eerie blue. Then we landed onto another hallway. This one was longer than the last one, or at least it felt like it. And then we headed down another flight of stairs. This one was much longer, took at least a full minute. Then I heard that laugh again, and the music slowly faded until it was quiet. As it did, the walls turned more dark red, and the torches were a black flame now. When Robotnik landed onto the third hallway, I noticed he now looked really creeped out, though he tried to hide it. I couldn't blame him, I was scared too. Suddenly Sonic popped right in front of Robotnik, the same way he did Knuckles, and then red static. Then it displayed the most unpleasant message. The image showed a hyper-realistic image of Sonic standing on the darkness, where you can only see his face, while his head and torso faded into black. And when I say hyper-realistic, I mean like he looked so real you could actually see the lines in his fur, as if you could feel the fur through your screen. His face had the most horrifying smile I had ever seen, and that's saying something, considering I saw that image at the start of the game. His eyes were wide and black, once again crying blood, and there were two small glowing red dots in those black eyes staring right at me, as if he was staring into my mind. His grin was wide and demonic. It literally stretched to the sides of his face like a Cheshire cat, except Sonic had fangs, much like the werehog's teeth, except much more vicious looking. Somewhat yellowish, and from the look of it, he had stains of blood and small bits of flesh on his lips and fangs, as if he ate some animal. Man, this story. I stared at that gruesome image for a good 30 seconds, never taking my eyes off it. I felt as if he was actually looking at me, smiling at me. That face, it took 10 seconds for it to etch itself into my brain for good. Then the screen flickered with red static again 3 times, and the third time I heard the Kefka laugh, except this time it sounded distorted, demonic even. It went back to the image again, except this time there was text again, though it was messed up. But it was pretty much one of the most horrifying things I've seen in this game. I am God. It was when I read the message while looking at Sonic when it hit me. I realized right there and then Sonic was a monster, pure evil, sadistic, all-powerful, nightmarish, demented monster. And all of his victims, including Tails, Knuckles, Robotnik, and possibly Kyle, are just his toys, and the game is his gateway into the chaotic, nightmarish world and the very hell his victims are trapped in. Suddenly, I had an actual split second. I screamed as Sonic lunged at the screen, screeching loudly with his mouth open to an unnatural length, revealing nothing but a spiraling abyss of pure darkness before the red static came again, this time much louder and distorted. So loud that it hurt my ears. I yelled and grabbed my ears as the red static screeched for a good 7 seconds, and then it stopped and showed nothing but a black screen. As I sat there, staring at the black screen, one last text came up. Ready for round 2, Tom? The Kefka laugh, now sounding more clear as if Sonic was right behind me, played 3 times as I looked at the text in shock and confusion. Then I got booted back to the main menu of the to the main menu, and this time the third save file had an image of Robotnik in the same tormented state as Tails and Knuckles. Robotnik's skin a dull gray, mustache drooped and blackened, his glasses broke and blood coming from them as he had a mere dead expression on his face. I looked like Tails, Knuckles, and Robotnik, and I cried a bit. I pitied them for the agony they're going through. They were forever trapped within the game, forever tormented by that horrid hedgehog, and always will be. Then the computer shut itself off. I couldn't turn it back on no matter what I did. I just sat there for maybe 25 seconds, horrified by what had just happened. Sonic is the very embodiment of evil. He tortures people who play his game in more ways than one. And then when he gets bored, he drags you into the game, drags you into hell where he can play with you always as his toy. I can't get this game out of my computer either. I think it's stuck in there. But at least I managed to turn it back on now. After I sat there for 25 seconds, I heard a voice right behind me, like a whisper. Try keeping this interesting for me, Tom. I turned around to see where the voice came from, and what I saw made me scream. Sitting on my bed, staring at me, was a Sonic plushie, smiling with bloodstains under his eyes. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that travesty of a story. See you next time. Peace.